The house that wakes at night.
When Mila and her husband Alexei bought the old two-story house on the edge of Vetlushino village, they weren't looking for luxury. They wanted silence, peace. After noisy Moscow, after Alexei's burnout and her nervous breakdown, the countryside felt like a cure. The house came at a ridiculous price, left almost untouched by its previous owners, who had moved out in a hurry. Mila never asked why. From the very beginning, something felt wrong. At first, it was subtle. Items out of place. Footsteps overhead when no one was upstairs. Furniture shifting slightly. Sounds of breathing behind closed doors. Alexei brushed it off. Old houses creak. They settle. That's normal. But Mila knew. It wasn't the house creaking. It was someone inside it. One night she woke to a cold draft. The moon hung in the window, casting pale light across the room. And in the far corner, she saw a figure. Dark. Still. Unmoving. She flicked on the lamp. No one. But the air still vibrated. A week later, Alexei had to leave for a couple of days. Car trouble, hospital stay, delays. Mila stayed alone. That night, the house truly woke up. At 2:17 a.m., a crash shook the downstairs. Something heavy. She grabbed a flashlight and went down barefoot. The hallway clock ticked too loudly, too rhythmically. Everything seemed in place, except the basement door. It was slowly swinging open. She'd checked the basement before. Empty. Just an old basin. A few rotten boards. But now, as she looked into the black stairwell, her flashlight trembled. Wet footprints led up the stairs. Bare feet, small ones, then vanished at the threshold. The next morning, shaken but determined, Mila went down into the basement. The air was damp and sweet, like rotting earth. The walls were lined with scratches, or rust. Each step groaned under her. In the far corner, behind the basin, she noticed a metal door she had never seen before. Rust-covered, locked. Carved into the surface were words. Do not wake the sleeper. That night, the draft returned. Colder. This time, the room smelled of wet soil. From the corner, where the coat rack stood, came a whisper. You opened it. From then on, the house changed. Every night brought new sounds. Soft footsteps in the hall. Doors creaking open, dripping water from the closed bathroom. Stains appeared on the walls, shimmering like mirrors. But they reflected everything except Mila. She began waking up with bruises on her arms, her legs, her neck, as if someone had grabbed her or dragged her. One morning, she woke in the basement, lying near the locked door. She didn't remember how she got there. The door was ajar. Inside was nothing but darkness, and the sound of something crawling, scraping against the ground. Above the doorway, new words were scratched, this time in something dark and flaking. It is awake. She found a journal hidden in a crack behind the fireplace, leather-bound, crumbling. It belonged to a woman named Elisaveta, who lived in the house a century ago. The entries grew frantic. Whispers from the basement. Shadows crawling on the ceiling. Her husband's eyes turning black. Night after night, he sat by the metal door, singing lullabies to something he called the Crypt Child. The final entry read, "If you're reading this, don't open it. Even if it speaks with your mother's voice, even if it promises to bring back the dead, it is not him. It is him." Alexei returned after 10 days. He looked pale, exhausted, but his face, there was something missing. When he hugged her, she felt a deep, unnatural cold. And when he passed the hallway mirror, his reflection didn't turn with him. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in the basement, whispering. Mila stood at the top of the stairs, frozen. Then, from below, she heard him sing, a lullaby, twisted and broken. Sleep now, child, close your eyes. Soon the family will arrive. Day by day, the house rotted from within. Black fluid oozed from cracks in the floor. Symbols formed on the wood, pulsing like wounds. Mila lost track of time. Hours disappeared. Sometimes she'd wake up in the attic. Once, naked and shivering, at the edge of the forest. One night she saw Alexei in the basement, naked, caked in mud, standing before the open door, singing. From the darkness, something sang back. A child's voice, raspy, starving. The full moon came. Mila carried a can of gasoline downstairs. She would burn the house, burn everything. But the door was wide open, and behind it, a tunnel of roots winding deep into the earth. Something was crawling toward her, something pale. Small hands, a mouth that opened too wide, splitting its chest. Its voice was high and gurgling. Mama. She drenched the floor and lit the match. The house screamed, literally. Every wall shrieked. The basement poured black smoke, filled with faces, dozens of them, twisted and howling. As she stumbled out into the cold, someone inside cried out, "Don't leave me, Mama." But she didn't look back.